The morning sun cast golden light across the rolling fields as a long passenger train began its journey from the bustling city. The air shimmered with heat, though the day was still young, and the track stretched endlessly into the horizon. Families boarded with excited chatter, office workers with coffee cups balanced in their hands, children clutching toys and snacks. It was supposed to be a smooth ride across the countryside, nothing more than another ordinary journey. But destiny had other plans, and before the day ended, everyone aboard would become part of a story none of them could ever forget. The train was one of the newer models, sleek and modern, with powerful engines designed to cut through hundreds of miles with ease. In the control cabin, the driver, a man named Cooper, checked the systems as the assistant engineer, Maria, went over the schedule. Cooper had worked the rails for 30 years and trusted his instincts more than the flashing lights on the control panel. Maria, younger and precise, relied on data and systems. The two made a good team, balancing tradition and modernity. The passengers settled into their seats. In car 3, a group of tourists chatted in several languages, pointing at maps and laughing. In car 5, a grandmother told stories to her grandchildren, who leaned forward with eager faces. In car 7, a businessman tapped on his laptop while his phone buzzed with calls. Everyone had their own world, their own plans, never suspecting the events about to unfold. Just 20 minutes into the journey, as the train gained speed, something strange occurred. The automatic braking system flickered. A small error message appeared on the control screen, and Maria leaned closer, frowning. "Looks like a minor glitch," she muttered. Cooper nodded, unconcerned at first, but then the train lurched, accelerating harder than it should. He tried adjusting the throttle, pulling the lever back, but the train didn't respond. His brows knitted together. He tried again, his hand firm, his movements controlled, but still nothing. Maria checked the system again, and her face paled. "The brakes aren't responding," she said. "They're locked out." Cooper immediately reached for the emergency override, the last line of defense. But when he activated it, the system gave no feedback, no sign of slowing. Instead, the train roared even faster, pushing forward with terrifying force. Within minutes, the passengers felt it too. The ride grew rougher, the scenery outside flashing past at a dizzying pace. Coffee spilled, children clutched their seats, and people exchanged nervous glances. The conductor, a stout man named Harris, walked through the cars, trying to calm everyone, telling them it was only a technical issue that would soon be under control. His voice was steady, but inside, fear gnawed at him. Back in the cabin, Maria worked furiously at the system, typing commands trying to cut power from the engines. Nothing worked. The train ignored every order, as though possessed by its own will. Cooper radioed Central Control, his voice grim, reporting the runaway condition. "We've lost braking. We're accelerating uncontrolled. Request immediate emergency response." Central Control crackled back, their voices sharp with alarm. "We copy. You're approaching Junction Delta in 30 minutes. If you can't stop, you'll be heading onto a congested freight line. We'll try rerouting, but you need to slow that train down." The words echoed in the cabin. Time was slipping away, and with every second, the train gained speed. News traveled quickly through the cars. Panic began to rise like a tide. Some passengers cried, some clung to loved ones, and some tried to argue with the conductors, demanding answers. In car 6, a man named Elias, a mechanic by trade, overheard the whispers of crew members about the brakes failing. He stood, his mind already racing. If the brakes are gone, what about cutting the fuel or disconnecting power? He asked aloud, half to himself, half to the crew. They looked uncertain, but his words spread quickly, giving people something to cling to. Maybe someone among them could help. As fear threatened to consume the train, different people reacted in different ways. In car 2, a group of young college students tried to distract children by playing songs on a guitar one of them carried. In car 8, a nurse named Rachel gathered medical supplies, preparing for injuries that might come if the train derailed. In the dining car, the chef and staff handed out free water and snacks, trying to keep people calm. No single hero stood up, but the passengers together began to act, each contributing in their own way. Meanwhile, Cooper and Maria worked desperately in the cabin. Maria suggested climbing onto the roof to manually cut one of the engine lines, a dangerous task at such speed. Cooper knew the risks but realized they had little choice. Harris, the conductor, overheard and volunteered to organize a small team of strong, steady passengers who might help. Within minutes, Elias the mechanic, Harris, and two others gathered near the front, bracing themselves for a risky move. The doors opened to the roaring wind, the sound like a hurricane. The train screamed forward across the fields, the tracks clattering beneath. With ropes secured, Elias climbed onto the roof, inching forward against the rush of air. His hands burned against the metal, and every movement felt like it might be his last. But determination pushed him on. From below, passengers watched through the windows, their hearts in their throats. A child whispered, "He's going to save us." But an old man shook his head gently. "It's not just him. We're all in this together." On the roof, Elias reached the first coupling near the engine. With a wrench he carried, he tried to disable the line, but the heat was intense. Sparks flew as he twisted the metal. The train shuddered violently, almost throwing him off, but Harris anchored the rope, shouting encouragement. Finally, Elias managed to disconnect part of the auxiliary power line. The lights flickered inside the cars, and the engine stuttered, but the train didn't stop. It slowed only slightly before regaining speed. Back inside, Maria announced grimly, "That bought us a little time, but not enough. We need another solution." Cooper's eyes hardened. Ahead lay a sharp curve near a small town. At their current speed, derailment was inevitable. He radioed central control again. "We can't hold much longer. Options?" The reply came with urgency. "We're clearing the tracks ahead. We're sending helicopters with emergency crews. If you can reach the secondary brake system underneath the cars, maybe you can trigger a manual lock." Underneath the train, where wheels clattered against steel at deadly speed, was the last hope. Volunteers stepped forward again. Elias, bruised but alive, agreed to try. This time Rachel, the nurse, insisted on coming to provide aid if he was injured. Another passenger, a young athlete named Jordan, helped too. Together, they crawled toward the undercarriage from a service hatch, clinging as the world roared past just inches below. The risk was unimaginable. One slip meant certain death, but teamwork and trust kept them going. Jordan held Elias steady as he tried to jam a metal rod into the brake lever below. Sparks flew again, metal grinding against metal. Rachel's voice was calm despite the chaos, guiding them, urging them on. Finally, with a scream of effort, Elias forced the lever into place. A deafening screech echoed across the train as sparks burst from beneath. The wheels fought against momentum, the smell of burning metal filling the air. The train shuddered violently, tossing passengers against their seats. Luggage tumbled, people cried out, but the slowing was real. The runaway train screamed in protest as its speed bled away, yard by yard, mile by mile. The passengers clung to each other, eyes wide, breaths held. Cooper and Maria watched the speedometer fall, their relief palpable, though they didn't dare celebrate yet. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the train screeched to a grinding halt on the open tracks, just miles short of the dangerous curve. Silence fell, not the peaceful silence of a normal stop, but the stunned quiet of people realizing they were alive. Then came the cheers, the cries, the embraces. Strangers held hands as if they'd always known each other. Children laughed through their tears, adults wept openly. Harris walked through the cars, his voice breaking as he said, "We made it, all of us." When emergency crews finally arrived by road and helicopter, they found not a train of victims but of survivors bound together by courage. Reporters later tried to single out heroes, but the story never belonged to one person. It belonged to all of them: the mechanic who risked his life on the roof, the nurse who braved the undercarriage, the conductor who rallied people, the children who brought moments of laughter, the crew who never gave up, and every passenger who kept hope alive. The runaway train became more than a disaster averted. It became a symbol of what ordinary people could do when fate tested them. No one had expected that morning to become extraordinary, but by the time the sun dipped lower in the sky, every soul on board knew they had been part of something unforgettable. And when the passengers finally stepped off onto solid ground, legs trembling but hearts steady, they carried with them a bond forged not by blood, not by destiny, but by survival and unity on a day when the train refused to stop, yet the people refused to surrender.